Welcome everyone to the dance floor where life lessons are learned through the art of dance. I'm your host Anna Harsh, and today I have a very special talented guest with me, Mr. Eli Lambie. Welcome to the dance floor.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Eli, I know we've known each other for a little while, so for our audience, tell us who you are, what's your story, where'd you come from, and what are you doing now, that sort of thing.
Okay, well, I am Eli Lambie. We met originally when you were choreographing some musicals at Wheeling Park High School. I did a lot of musicals and performances there, so we kind of met through that. After I left Wheeling Park High School, I got a triple music degree in audio engineering, music education, and music performance in piano and saxophone. And now I teach elementary music to about 350 4 to 11-year-olds. And I also do a lot of playing. I tour with a couple bands. I have my own band. I play with the Wheeling Symphony, and I play at a couple churches and do some studio work and some writing.
Yeah, so you have a full plate. Like myself, we're always into something. We're either teaching or performing or always doing something with our art form, which keeps us extremely busy. But since the pandemic has hit, I don't know, that sort of stopped my world a little bit in a sense. And then, I sort of had a couple weeks where it was like, okay, how am I going to figure this out? What are we going to do? And then now it's kind of picked up again where it's becoming busy again. So I know school has been really challenging for you guys as teachers. So explain, how have you been teaching music online, or how's that going?
Teaching music online has been a really big challenge, especially with the youngest children. A lot of what I've been doing is just, I started a page, an online page for my kids that they can visit, and it has little daily online tasks, and I will communicate with kids through those tasks. So a lot of those things are film yourself doing this or something of that sort. And I'm trying to get them to be really creative. I think with the youngest kids, I'm not so concerned with them learning music symbology and things like that. I'm really just concerned with them being involved with the creative process. So, for example, one of our assignments, I went into my cupboard and I picked out a bunch of pots and pans and I built my own drum set and played a real basic drum groove and taught them a couple different grooves. And I had kids sending me videos of them sitting behind their little homemade drum sets, creating their own grooves and trying to play some of the grooves that I taught them. And then I'm also spending some time just over Zoom with the kids. So I'll get on Zoom with the whole class, and it's not always about music, but I think as teachers, especially when they're young, we can have an impact in their lives beyond just music, just talking about life itself and teaching them healthy habits and things like that.
Right, and that's kind of why I started the podcast, because I started realizing that, it's nothing new to us as artists that we learn life lessons, obviously through our creative outlets, but you're right, it teaches us so much more than just the notes on a page, or it's, how to deal with situations possibly like we're dealing with right now, that sometimes it doesn't always go the way you planned, and, unexpected accidents can turn out even better.
Right. Music and dance and all those art forms are really all about kind of rolling with the punches, and we tend to be very resilient people. So, the interesting thing about the pandemic, of course, when it first hit, everybody was like, oh my gosh, and our world was kind of brought to a big stop.
Right.
But as time has kind of rolled on, we've all found other avenues and other outlets, and I think ultimately we're going to come out as stronger people when it's helping shape our art form for the better.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my friends the other day. She's also teaching dance online, and it's also challenging, like you were saying, with music, but we've come across different ways that we're communicating and working on it. And I joked with her, I said, this is like a college class every day. I've had to learn so many different technical things, online apps and different kinds of things to hook up, and what's lighting, does it look good, can you hear me, all of that good stuff, and learning about Zoom and all these other platforms we've been using, and it really has made us think outside the box of, well, maybe choreography can be enhanced by this, or maybe I can, give something to the students that's a little different than I would in a classroom, face to face. So, they're having to really depend on what does it feel like and other senses. So it's kind of drawing out, like you were saying, it draws out, a little bit more to the lesson plan than you would have planned originally.
Oh, right. Definitely. And so I think there are some benefits underneath all of this.
Yeah. And I think we'll reap those benefits hopefully within the next year. We're going to see students are going to know more than what we planned on. Like I said, the lesson plan is probably a little more packed than you think. And I've learned to slow some things down. Teaching a combination online has to go really a lot slower than you would in person, where you pick up choreography or music maybe in person a lot quicker because you can hear it. It's kinetic. You have that energy from the other person. But so I've slowed my teaching down, and it's caused me to rethink. Oh, well, maybe that movement isn't such a good movement, or maybe I should try something else, or so it really challenged you as an artist, like, oh, there's a couple more ways I didn't see before. And so that's happened to me. I'm sure maybe you're thinking outside the box now of maybe in tapping into their senses. What does the sound like you're saying, pots and pans, it has a different sound than an actual drum set. So maybe they're paying attention to the pitch or a tone of a sound more intensely than before.
Right. Oh, yeah. I definitely think so.
So
for sure.
What are the ages again? What are the grades that you're teaching?
So 4 to 11-year-olds, or pre-K through 5th grade.
Oh, so the teeny weeny ones. We're tiny tots. Okay.
Yeah, but what I really like about it, is the 4-year-olds and the 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds. They like to really be creative and move around and be real hands-on and everything like that. And with the older kids, with like the 4th and 5th graders, I love being with them because we're able to actually put together performances. And that's where you see they're able to take on bigger tasks. So I think I really enjoy elementary because between those ages, you really get a smorgasbord of different kids and different ability levels.
I agree. I've taught K through adults and beyond, and they're very creative, and you get more ideas from them. Like sometimes I feel like I learned more than they did in the lesson. But they are so enjoyable to teach, that's for sure. And you can see their growth is so rapid. Like at that age, it's really rapid.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. And you definitely learn a lot very quickly because when you have so many different grade levels and so much different planning, you learn very quickly what works and what doesn't.
So as a musician in general, how do you stay motivated, like creatively? Because I know a lot of my friends are like, man, I just don't want to get out of bed right now. I'm just really bummed about this whole situation. And some of us are like, no way, I'm going to go to the studio, I'm going to create a space in my house and get to it. I'm going to go outside and I don't know. So how do you stay personally motivated? Like what helps you stay on track or keep going at it?
Well, some days are really hard, when you don't have anywhere specific to be or you don't have your, usual schedule kicking you in the butt. But I've always been a goal setter. And I always set, goals that are relatively quickly achievable. So that way I am at least working towards something. And I find that when I am motivated to do something and I start on something, I'll go and go and go and go. Like I'll work. There's some days in the studio I'll sit for, 12 plus hours working on the project just because I'm feeling especially motivated that day. But then there's other days that I don't feel real motivated. And I go to the golf course and play some golf and then just go home and chill. Yeah. So I just try to kind of cash in on that momentum when it's there. And I'm sure the other thing you feel as a creative person, some days the creativity is really, really flowing and the ideas are just coming and you're really on top of things. And then there's other days that you have to come up with something or you've been hired to do something, and I just draw a total blank.
It's like a giant mountain in front of you. Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I agree. Yeah, definitely take advantage of those days that are like, yes, this is where it's headed, and this is my idea, and I'm going with it, and it seems like it goes very, very fast. I don't know about you, but like for me, it goes really fast. Like once I get an idea for choreography, it's like a movie in my head, and it just goes so quickly. I'm trying to write it down or turn on a video camera so I can videotape some ideas that I'm improving just to kind of put together. And then there's other days I'm like, maybe I'll just do some yoga today and like maybe just think about that later.
Right, and I think that's okay. I think as artists we need that downtime.
Yeah.
To be able to think clearly and come up with our good ideas.
Yeah, you were talking about musicals. I know that when in high school you were doing musicals, I was the choreographer, and I know that sometimes if I'm working on a lot of musicals, this past year I had probably 3 or 4 musicals I worked on throughout the year, and that was a little musical overload for me. Sometimes as a choreographer I'm like, oh my gosh, if I do one more push, turn, pivot. So I have to think about something different. So sometimes I'll listen to what I call the opposite spectrum of music. For me, it just kind of clears the mind and wipes it away, and it's like, okay, let's start over. So I don't know about you. Do you do something that kind of like resets you if you're working on something?
Yeah, I mean, I listen to all different types of music, and like we said a little bit ago, I try to take breaks from things because I really think that downtime is just crucial to be able to work to our full potential when we really are working. Also, I mean, when I was playing a ton, I mean, before all this, I was playing about 240 gigs a year.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd get in the car after playing gigs and I would shut the music off. And sometimes just total silence. Just total silence is really, really nice. People constantly are sending me things to listen to, and I love it because it introduces me to new stuff that I can't keep up with it because I need a break from that.
Yeah, I get bombarded right now with students that will send me TikToks. If it introduces someone to dance and music and getting them moving, then yeah, it's for you. But to someone like us, I just feel like it's kind of like, nah, I got my own TikTok going on in my head, thanks.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big TikTok person either, but yeah, like you said, I've found, especially with like my 5th graders, they're getting into that kind of middle school stage where they're too cool to do something. So you have to figure out ways to reach your goals and achieve your objectives with them still enjoying what they're doing. So some of my kids have done things like build their assignments into TikToks. And hey, if it accomplishes what we need to accomplish,
it's kind of
then
cool.
I'm really happy.
Yeah, because it does get them to be creative, and you do have to choose different things in the app, make it amazing. And I know a lot of students are like, I spent 3 hours on my TikTok. I get it. They're trying to achieve a certain goal and that sort of thing. Outside of music, is there anything that you've been doing lately that to kind of keep your mind busy?
Oh yeah, I've been doing a lot. I've been playing some golf.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of walking and running. I've been in closer contact with family. My parents live about a half mile away from me, so I walk down to my mom and dad's house almost every day and play a game with my mom.
Nice.
Because my parents are getting older, so it's nice spending time with them. And actually, right when this all hit, and I mean right when this all hit, I was actually scheduled to have a tonsillectomy and an adenoidectomy. I was back in October. I wound up in the ICU after a Wheeling Symphony gig because my tonsils were obstructing my airway. So I was in the ICU for about a week, and they finally got them down enough to send me home, but things were never quite right since then. So we decided that they needed to come out. And the week before my surgery, that's when everything kind of shut down.
Wow. So
I had ample time to kind of recover, which was good because I actually 2 weeks into surgery I had a bad bleed and I had to be recauterized. a lot of time was spent on that. So I'm actually still kind of
recovering.
We're kind of recovering from that. But now I'm setting some fitness goals. I did here a couple weeks ago. I did 100,000 steps in one day. Ended up being 54.5 miles. So that was kind of a little personal fitness goal of mine that I hit.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
just taking time to do some things I would normally do. Also, my musical interests, I don't want to say they've shifted, but when you're constantly playing, with certain bands, with the symphony or whatever, you're constantly working on that music, and
right.
You have to focus on the music that you're going to be playing professionally. But I've had time to actually relax a bit and play more of what I want to play. And I have been practicing some Chopin and doing some other things, which has been really refreshing.
That's awesome. I have been, like I said, I've been studying my Italian, and like you, I have fitness crazy goals. I get away from certain things, and then I'm back onto running and walking again. And since our summer has been canceled with our tour, since all of the festivals can't happen, and we were supposed to appear with a symphony this fall, and I don't know if that will happen either because of large crowds. So yeah, we're just setting new fitness goals, and for us, for Allegro, we're doing a summer intensive, so we have 12 weeks of a summer intensive that people can do online with us, and we're doing yoga and different kinds of dance classes, and I'm going to give Italian folk dance classes, which is unique to our area, since those types of styles of dance are dying out. I'm probably one of the last generations that know this information that I brought back from Italy, so that's kind of challenging too. So talk about your band a little bit. What do you guys do? What do you play? I know you have a lot of gigs, and I ran into you last year. We had sort of the same gig that we were playing for a gala, and you guys were playing right after we performed, I believe.
Yeah, so I play with a couple bands. I'm with Hit Play, which has been around a while. And then my own project is called the Mojo Kings. And we've been around for a couple years. We're an 8-piece band. We have a horn section. So we play like a lot of Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire, Tower of Power, Stevie Wonder, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Steely Dan, that kind of stuff. That's all music I grew up listening to from my parents. I love that music, but you never really hear it. And people that do it don't really do it justice without the horns. So I wanted to get a big group together, and the energy is just electric.
That's awesome.
So,
and you guys do different kinds of events, I'm sure, right? From weddings to celebrations and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we do a little bit of everything. I found that my favorite venues that we play are really the outdoor concert venues, just where people are there for the music and we get to interact with the audience, and that's my favorite.
Yeah, same here. We really feed off of the audience and their energy, and you're right. I do miss that this summer. I will really kind of miss being in front of a live audience and feeding off their energy and giving some amazing show and performances for them. I know you play a lot of instruments. Can you tell us about your instruments that you play and your favorite maybe, or if you're changing instruments now?
That's always a really tough question. I think one of the questions I get the most is people ask, well, how many instruments do you play? And, well, I mean, I could probably make sound with pretty much anything you give me, but it's not necessarily going to be a good sound. When we become elementary educators, the goal is kind of for us to know how to do a little bit on everything. But as far as being proficient, I'm a proficient pianist and saxophonist, and I'm pretty solid on violin. Outside of that, I can play some stuff here and there, but those are really my main instruments, and I definitely spend my most time at the piano.
I always like to say I'm really proficient at the tambourine because of folk dance, but my next goal, I think, is to learn. There's a giant tambourine, it's a tamburo, it's a big drum that we use in southern Italian folk music, but some of my teachers in Italy are really proficient players, And wow, to watch them move their hands and fingers that fast, I'm like, okay, I need to learn this. So I think that's going to be my next goal when I go back to Italy, maybe in a few years, and take some drumming classes and that sort of thing, along with my dance classes that I have there.
Oh yeah, that'd be very cool. I think instruments, well anything, but just speaking in terms of instruments, to be able to play anything well, is an incredible challenge. Like,
for sure.
Many people spend their whole lives working on it. And one of the things I'm kind of finding now, and I think this is really a result of modern technology and this seeking instant gratification, people don't knuckle down as hard on one thing. Like I've watched a lot of people give up very early in the process of playing piano because maybe they took for 2 years,
right.
And then we're like, oh, well, I can't get hands together.
Right.
I'm no good at this. I mean, it takes a really, really long time. There are still so many things on piano that I wish I did a lot better, and that I'm still working on. I definitely have my ear working for me, which is good, but my reading chops are not anywhere near what I wish they were. So when I get a packet of music from the symphony or whatever, that's a serious challenge for me. And I spend hours upon hours sitting down with the music and going through it and working on my reading.
Sight reading is, I know some people can literally hear that in their head as they're reading it, like as they're looking at it, looking at the notes, and that, you're right, that's a skill. So speaking of apps and things like that, have you found some apps that you love or that you hate?
I have to be honest, I really don't like using any apps really on my phone. I really don't like spending time on my phone when I don't have to, because
Same.
I've been on a lot of Zoom calls. I get a million emails a day. I get a lot of text messages. I have to do a lot of business.
Right.
And then I do use a fair amount of Facebook.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I really don't want to spend any time on my phones. Not really.
I understand that. I don't have certain apps on my phone either because it would be ringing all day long.
Right.
With students, like you said, with students and with business and things, projects that you're working on, you're just like, I love silence. I still have an old school calendar that I still write things down in. I'm kind of old fashioned that way. Like I have a calendar on my phone, but it's great. But for me, it's something that's a constant annoyance that it pops up. Hey, you have this to do.
Yeah, and it gets to be too much, so I really don't do anything with that. But I did just download Movavi. I got the Movavi Pro or whatever it is, so I can do like multiple screens at the same time.
Okay.
And take a recording. I just did something on Facebook.
I was going to say, I think that's what I posted. Is that how you did it? That's awesome.
Yeah, that was on Movavi, and that was my first kind of stab at that. And
wow.
It was a fair amount of work because it was my first time trying it. But I think as I get the hang of it, it's going to be useful, and I'm kind of enjoying doing that for the time being.
So do you find anything that recently that you've used maybe like that has enhanced maybe your creative process or, some of your work? Probably a great way for you to get your work out there. Yeah,
definitely. I've built a pretty good following on Facebook, and that's been another motivator. I do it mostly for myself. I do get joy out of doing these things for myself, but it's also nice to have an audience and have people messaging you, asking you, hey, when are you going to post again? We're looking forward to your, it's just nice to know that people are listening and that people are so supportive of the arts where we are.
That is true. I've gotten a few like, hey, so no festivals, well, how can we see Allegro still, And I know it's hard because our audience is like, well, now what? I know that another teacher, Elizabeth Conley, you probably know Elizabeth, she sent me a recording. She's like, hey, I have this recording that I sang, and I think you should do some choreography to it. And so she sent me the recording, and, of course, I don't have a stage and lighting and all that great stuff. So the song was Black Coffee. It was a jazz song called Black Coffee. And so I shot it in my kitchen in a black and white setting, and with coffee as the main feature, And so we collaborated on that, and I thought to myself, well, gosh, I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't during this time. So,
right. Yeah, that's really cool. It's definitely forcing us to do some things that we wouldn't ordinarily do. And I think on the other side, some of the stuff that I'm doing now is stuff I'm going to try to continue doing because it's worked out really well, and I've enjoyed it.
Awesome. That's awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap up our little podcast session, but before we go, I just want to ask you one more question. What do you think the biggest lesson you have learned through being creative?
I think that it's just taught me so much about life in general. Life really is like a piece of music, because in a piece of music, especially a challenging one, things do not go the way you expect them to do. But as you're performing a concert or a performance or something like that, you always find ways to take what maybe didn't go right, or a loop you were thrown, or something that wasn't set up the way you wanted it to be, or something like that. You take all the things that aren't perfect and you find a way to make it perfect and make it enjoyable for everybody. So being in the elementary school system, I've learned that no class is going to go perfectly. I mean, things are always, and there's been days that I've gone in with a lesson plan and we either got stuck on something or the lesson just took a total turn and I was flying by the seat of my pants. And some of those have wound up being the very best classes. So it's just kind of taught me to make the most out of things no matter what, no matter what the situation is.
I agree. For me, dance has taught me to look at things from all angles. You know, as a choreographer, I have to walk all the way around the stage to see, well, what does this look like? Especially if we're doing something in a round. So sometimes I think we just need to look at things from a different point of view.
Definitely, that's perfect.
Eli, you're a pleasure to talk to. I do miss you, and I'm glad I got to see your face anyway, even through Zoom. And hopefully, you know, maybe I can come to your classroom someday and we can collaborate in the future once we are back as real people and able to do those sorts of things again.
Yeah, I would love that. I definitely miss seeing you too. It's been too long.
I know, time has flown by, and but I'm glad to see you are so super successful, and I love seeing your bands, and I love listening to you too. I click on your Facebook all the time and kind of see, well, what's he playing today, you know, and I love hearing you sing as well. Where can we find you? Where can my audience listen to some of your stuff? Where can we catch your information?
I have a fan page on Facebook. It's Eli W. Lambie. And I've been posting some stuff there. And then, of course, you can catch the Mojo Kings around town. We do lots of advertising when we're getting ready to play again and things like that. So we'll let everybody know where we'll be.
That's awesome, Eli. Do you want to play my audience out a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Great, yeah, and I'll play a little Beatles tune for you if that's
I love
okay.
it.
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, lonely winter. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Little darling, I feel that ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Here comes the sun, do do do. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. It's alright.
Wow, I love that. That's kind of a perfect song for this time that we're living in, I think.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, we're all hoping that the sun does come back out, and I'm hoping for everybody's safety and wellness to continue throughout this crazy year that we've been having already. I'm not sure if 2020 was supposed to teach us a lesson of the past or a vision for the future. So until next time, I'm your host, Anna Harsh, and you've been listening to The Dance Floor with our special guest today, Mr. Eli Lambie. Thank you again, Eli.
Thanks for having me.